As the sun set in a quiet Florida neighborhood, neighbors were startled by sudden shouts and urgent knocks on their doors. Ashley Benefield appeared on a neighbor's doorstep, holding a gun and looking terrified. She pleaded for help, saying she had no choice but to defend herself. Inside her home, Douglas Benefield lay badly injured as paramedics rushed in, and police began securing the area. How had things come to this point? Was it just the result of built-up tension, or was there something deeper and more troubling in their relationship? Douglas Benefield was born on October 2, 1961, in Palo Alto, California. He was the second child of John and his wife Suzanne, who had 3 children in total: Wesley, Douglas, and David. Suzanne, a teacher, and John, an aerospace engineer, upheld values of discipline and hard work in their home. John's career later took the family to Huntsville, Alabama, a city known for its role in advanced aerospace development. Douglas thrived in this environment, displaying curiosity and enthusiasm. He was especially close to his brother David, and together they often attended church camps organized by their mother, who was actively involved in the religious community. As Douglas entered high school, he joined the wrestling team, which allowed him to channel his dedication and passion. He quickly became one of the school's top wrestlers, inspiring his younger brother David, who would later follow in his footsteps. David often recalled how Douglas supported and encouraged him during his first match, a memory he cherished deeply. Around this time, however, the family faced a tragic loss when John passed away. This hardship led Suzanne to return to her native Texas with her children, seeking support from family as they coped with their grief. After graduating from high school, Douglas pursued a biology degree at a local university. Those close to him remember this period fondly, as he not only excelled academically but also co-founded a fraternity, demonstrating leadership and teamwork. During his college years, Douglas also discovered a passion for art, an interest that led him to create murals and design logos, distinguishing himself in various academic projects. Despite these new interests, he remained dedicated to wrestling, eventually ranking among the top 10 wrestlers in the state. After completing his degree, Douglas enlisted in the Navy, initially serving as a navigator and co-pilot on aircraft carriers. He continued his training at flight school, where he earned the rank of Naval Flight Officer. In the early 1990s, Douglas met someone special, leading to a whirlwind romance and marriage. Unfortunately, the marriage ended in divorce as quickly as it began. Douglas refocused on his career, enrolling in intelligence training and joining the Naval Intelligence Division. After achieving the rank of lieutenant commander, he retired from the Navy, ending a distinguished military career. Seeking a new direction, he moved to Charleston, South Carolina, where he opened a restaurant. His military background also allowed him to work as a consultant for security and communications technology firms, securing government contracts. During this time, he met a single mother of 2, and the two married in 1999, creating a blended family. However, despite appearances, their relationship was sometimes tumultuous, with reports of conflict, including physical altercations that they chose not to report. Nevertheless, life went on, and in 2001, they welcomed a daughter, Eva. Shortly after Eva's birth, Douglas underwent a vasectomy. The following years appeared stable as Douglas managed several tech businesses working with both private clients and government projects. Eventually, he became involved in national security initiatives, focusing on strategic policy development. As Douglas's professional obligations increased, he was frequently away from home, which strained his relationship with his wife to the point where they began sleeping in separate rooms. In December 2015, Eva returned home from school one day to find the front door locked and no response from her mother. Worried, she crawled through the bushes to a window. With the help of a neighbor who forced the door open, they discovered her mother's lifeless body. The emergency services were called and her remains were taken to the morgue, where an autopsy later revealed that the woman had passed away from an undiagnosed heart condition. This unexpected loss deeply affected the family, and Douglas found solace in faith. He began attending church regularly and started each day by reading Bible verses, sharing them with his daughter. By 2016, he had established connections in political circles, particularly with prominent donors of the Republican presidential campaign. During a summer fundraiser in Florida, he met Ashley Burns, a striking young woman born in Texas in 1991 to Alicia and Raymond Burns. Ashley had been immersed in ballet from a young age, working with renowned instructors and joining prestigious ballet companies. However, at 23, a leg injury forced her to retire from professional ballet, setting her on a new path. Ashley subsequently began teaching dance classes to children and maintained costumes for student workshops. She also explored modeling, primarily in swimwear and lingerie photography, though her success was limited. On a personal note, Ashley had been through a divorce after a 2-year marriage and remained close to her mother. She was a dedicated Republican, and after attending a political event, met then-presidential candidate Donald Trump. This encounter led her to join his campaign office in Florida, where she met Douglas at a fundraising dinner. Her beauty, paired with her elegance as a former ballerina, immediately caught his attention. Despite their significant age difference, Douglas was 54 and she was 24, they connected effortlessly that evening. Later, Douglas texted her, expressing gratitude for the time they shared. 2 days later, when Douglas flew to Israel for business, he and Ashley maintained a steady flow of text messages, resembling two teenagers in love. As they got to know each other better through these exchanges, they discovered shared interests, from a deep religious faith to similar music tastes. Both also shared a notable enthusiasm for collecting firearms. Upon Douglas's return to the U.S., they had already decided to marry, opting to keep their plans private, even from Douglas's daughter, Eva. On September 6, 2016, they married in a small private ceremony in Charleston, with only a close friend of Douglas's as a witness. Ashley then moved into Douglas's home. Their early days of marriage faced an unexpected complication when Eva's friend, Sydney, moved in due to issues at home. Douglas and Ashley handled this situation with composure, eventually becoming Sydney's legal guardians. Despite her efforts, Ashley struggled to connect with Eva, who was still grieving her mother's death. It didn't help that Eva had been unaware of her father's plans to remarry. Ashley made numerous attempts to bond by sharing activities, like watching ballet videos and working on gardening projects, but she couldn't shake her insecurity and jealousy, sensing that Douglas would always prioritize his daughter over her. In early 2017, the couple decided to pursue a shared dream by launching a ballet company in Charleston. They sought to challenge traditional ballet norms by recruiting dancers from diverse backgrounds, creating an inclusive space for talent. At the same time, Ashley persuaded Douglas to undergo a vasectomy reversal so they could have a child together. This succeeded, and in July of that year, they learned they were expecting. However, the news intensified tensions between Ashley and Eva, especially when Ashley found Eva's diary, revealing the girl's deep resentment toward her. The diary discovery ignited a series of arguments between Douglas and Ashley that grew increasingly frequent and intense. During one confrontation, Douglas punched a wall, later even lashing out at the family pets. In another heated moment, he threw a gun toward Ashley, leaving a hole in the wall. He then raised the weapon to his own head, threatening to end his life, only to discharge it toward the ceiling moments later. Astonishingly, a few days after this explosive incident, they held a party at a hotel to formally announce their marriage to friends. In August, Ashley experienced significant discomfort related to her pregnancy. After discussing it with Douglas, they agreed she would rest at her mother's house in Florida, while he stayed back to organize ballet company logistics. On September 18th, the long-awaited launch of their ballet company, Douglas was busy at the studio supervising the dancers' arrival. Meanwhile, Ashley made the 600-mile journey to Florida. She quietly packed her belongings, left a letter on the table, and departed without a word. In the note, she described Douglas as possessive and controlling. Alluding to the gun incident, she expressed fear for her own life and that of their unborn child. She warned him not to contact her, threatening to involve the police if he tried. After reading her letter, Douglas was filled with regret and began texting Ashley, promising to change. For weeks, he sent apologies, declarations of love, and assurances of a different future. Ashley's responses, however, remained practical, focusing only on company contracts and financial matters. Despite his continued promises, Ashley wasn't open to reconciliation. She eventually contacted the police, informing them of Douglas's anger issues and recounting the incident with the firearm. As a result of the ongoing conflict, Child Protective Services visited Douglas's home and conducted an interview with his daughter, Eva. Following this, Douglas was required to undergo a comprehensive psychological evaluation. However, the results showed no signs of mental health issues, nor was he considered a threat. Ultimately, he was cleared of the accusations. By this point, though, Douglas was grappling with financial issues, as his efforts to save the ballet company were in vain. The initial investment they believed was secured didn't exist. Despite his optimism, he hoped to secure enough funding to avoid exposing the truth. Under mounting pressure, he borrowed tens of thousands of dollars to cover the first payroll. Nonetheless, by late October, half of the dancers were dismissed, and Ashley publicly distanced herself from the organization on social media. Douglas asked her to take down the post to avoid affecting the remaining dancers, but she refused. Shortly afterward, he admitted the financial reality and had no choice but to close the company. Meanwhile, in Florida, Ashley's health was worsening, plagued by intense pain and fatigue. After numerous unsuccessful medical attempts to diagnose her condition, she sent a hair sample to a lab, which revealed dangerously high toxin levels, suggesting potential intentional exposure. She then recalled the tea Douglas prepared for her each morning and began suspecting that he might have been poisoning her, perhaps even contributing to his previous wife's sudden death. Soon after, Douglas, unaware of her suspicions, sent her a package of tea bags. Ashley, however, avoided drinking it, opting to take it to the police for analysis by a specialized team. Tests later showed no traces of toxic substances. 3 weeks before her due date, Ashley checked into a hospital without informing Douglas. From the beginning, she told medical staff that she believed her husband had poisoned her, exposing her unborn baby to heavy metals. She also accused him of domestic violence, claiming he had held her captive and harassed her in Florida. While her claims couldn't be substantiated, the hospital took precautions for her safety and assigned her a new name. After a cesarean section, her daughter was born healthy. Nevertheless, Ashley immediately sought hyperbaric oxygen treatments for the baby, enrolling her newborn in 26 sessions. In late July 2018, Ashley and Douglas came face-to-face for the first time in months at a courthouse in Florida. Douglas sought custody of his daughter, whom he hadn't yet met. Meanwhile, Ashley, alleging domestic violence and attempted poisoning, requested a restraining order against him. After a 2-day hearing, the judge denied Ashley's request and decided on shared custody of their daughter, citing insufficient evidence of poisoning or related illness. Following the court's decision, they were required to attend counseling sessions together for the sake of their child. During Easter weekend in 2019, while having dinner as a family, Ashley and her mother privately questioned Eva. Ashley's suspicions of Douglas hadn't faded, and she wondered aloud if he might have been involved in the death of his second wife. Eva tried to reassure them, insisting her father was a good man. The following year, Douglas noticed Ashley wearing what appeared to be an engagement ring. He secretly installed a tracking device in her car and hired a private investigator, confirming that she was seeing someone new. Ashley, on the other hand, filed a police report accusing Douglas of allegedly abusing their young daughter, prompting him to file for divorce. After an investigation, authorities found no evidence supporting the allegations. Frustrated, Douglas emailed the police claiming Ashley had a split personality. By then, their relationship seemed irreparable. Yet in mid-2020, despite divorce proceedings, Ashley surprised Douglas by reaching out, hinting at reconciliation. They began seeing each other again, and hopeful that things might work out, made plans to move in together. Douglas rented an apartment close to Ashley's mother's home, packed up his belongings, and arranged for a moving truck. On September 27, 2020, when Douglas arrived in Florida, Ashley's mother took their daughter for a walk while the couple settled into their new home. Suddenly, a heated argument erupted, loud enough for a neighbor to hear. Concerned, the neighbor immediately called 911. Moments later, Ashley, carrying a firearm, ran to a neighboring house, knocking on the door and asking for help. The armed neighbor also contacted emergency services. When paramedics arrived, followed closely by police officers, the entire team secured the area. The paramedics noted that Douglas was still breathing, though he had multiple injuries, including wounds to his leg and arm. A bullet had also penetrated his chest cavity, complicating his condition. Despite all efforts to save him, Douglas was pronounced dead at a local hospital an hour later. That night, Ashley claimed she acted in self-defense, offering few details to detectives. Meanwhile, her mother asserted that she and Ashley had endured domestic abuse from Douglas for over 3 years, adding that they had attempted to seek help on multiple occasions but received no support. Ashley's lawyer told a detective that her client had been planning an escape to get away from Douglas once and for all. According to her, Ashley had arranged for a psychologist, 2 attorneys, a disposable phone, a safe location, and a rental car. She intended to execute the plan the next day, fearing Douglas might discover her intentions. Though Ashley wasn't initially arrested, investigators began to uncover inconsistencies in her self-defense claim. For instance, there were no weapons or blunt objects near Douglas, and Ashley showed no visible injuries or bruises. In November 2020, Ashley was formally arrested and charged with second-degree murder. After pleading not guilty and posting bail, she was released a week later. She was allowed visitation with her daughter, but primary custody was granted to her mother. Despite her legal troubles, Ashley continued to give interviews, defending her version of events. As the case garnered national attention, Ashley became widely compared to the protagonist of the 2010 film Black Swan, a psychological thriller set in the ballet world. After many legal twists and delays, Ashley's trial took place in the summer of 2024. According to the prosecution, Ashley had always intended to be a single mother and never planned to grant Douglas visitation rights. For them, her abuse claims were merely part of a strategy to achieve this goal. Ashley and her defense maintained their original story, and during her turn on the stand, she captivated the court and the nation following the trial by recounting, with deep emotion, her account of what happened on that tragic day. Her defense argued that authorities had failed to respond appropriately to her numerous complaints against Douglas, and that she suffered from battered woman syndrome. Among Ashley's supporters in the courtroom were her mother and her 6-year-old daughter, who even spoke to a journalist, stating she was doing what was right for her mother. Despite this, after a late-night deliberation, the jury found Ashley Benefield guilty, not of the murder charge she faced, but of the lesser charge of manslaughter in the death of her husband, Douglas Benefield. The minimum penalty for this charge was 11 years in prison, with a maximum of 30 years. Afterward, Eva praised the verdict in a video posted on social media. Ashley's defense team, however, quickly expressed dissatisfaction with the verdict, announcing their intention to file for a mistrial, citing alleged juror misconduct. Although Ashley's sentencing was initially set for October 22, 2024, the judge announced that he would consider the defense's motion, claiming juror bias, possibly due to alleged dishonesty in a juror's responses and the potential use of a cell phone during deliberations. As of the final week of October 2024, our investigation found that the court was still deliberating on the defense's motion. Ashley's fate remained uncertain, as she could face up to 30 years in prison if the judge denies the motion and issues a sentence. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.